that recorded in case some people aren't able to join with us. I do appreciate you all being on such short notice, but I want to make sure we have the opportunity to answer as many questions as possible all at once, rather than having you all have to try and figure it out and send questions back and forth. Figured one call with everyone might be beneficial. With that, I'm going to let Michael Krin take it away and start on this. If you want, actually, I'm going to open this Word document and share it on the screen for you, if that'll help as well.
That will.
I know most of you probably know who Michael is. He's the budget analyst in the DF&A Office of Budget that helps with the institutions. All right, Michael, I'm going to figure out how to get this shared and then.
Okay, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining this morning. Again, sorry for the short notice. And also thank you for everybody that turned in your AOPs. I'm going to start processing. I've started processing some, but along with the AOPs is this lovely ARPA request. And I've not sent it. Nick forwarded out to everybody a Word document this morning. I was working on it yesterday to kind of help guide every institution through the new FY23 ARPA form and what we're kind of looking at as official continuations. I was hoping all these would be spent before the end of the year, and I'm sure most of y'all were too. But unfortunately, that they are going to be continuing into FY23. So this Word document kind of gives a little bit of information for y'all to help in the process of filling out the FY23 form. In the attached, for this meeting, Nicholas attached the Excel document. Also in the Word document that's sent out is the link to the budget's website for the FY23 ARPA request form in a PDF format. So either one of those formats would work for filling out the process. One thing some of y'all received last night, and I'm going to hopefully have the rest of them sent out this morning, is a draft of the FY23 ARPA request form that would have the remaining balance in the ACES system already entered on the form. If you would look at the Word document that was sent, we'll kind of go over that and then maybe go over the Excel document and see if any of y'all have questions, concerns of those two items. Unfortunately, the FY22 ARPA request does not automatically go into FY23. We will have to completely either request a brand new request or do a continuation. So if we are to continue, if y'all are requesting to continue the FY22 ARPA into 23, the new form will have to be filled out. As I kind of bolded, please do not use the FY22 form. It will not reference the correct act. Each form is specific, very specific for each year. So if you use the FY22 form, I will have to send it back and ask y'all to fill it out on the new form. The next item, you can only do a continuation if none of the supporting detail has changed since the last request / reallocation. So I know that's been a question about, hey, we submitted the request, we asked for $1,000 in operating, and that was to buy laptops. Well, the laptop came in a lot cheaper. Hey, can I get 2 laptops? Technically, if your detail plan stated that you were only purchasing 1 laptop, then you cannot do a continuation. You cannot use that appropriation to buy the second laptop. It was not in your detail plan that was submitted. If your detail plan was more vague and it didn't specify the number of laptops you were purchasing, as far as the few people I've talked to, that will be completely fine because it said you're buying laptops. But the special language specifically states you are not allowed to use any remaining appropriation for anything else that was not specified. So yes, the legislators want detail, but at the same time, a little vague detail might help. So that way, if y'all do have other projects y'all would like to try to do with that money, just in case it comes in under, that's understandable. But we cannot do a continuation if you need to change that document. I've kind of skipped around. That was in the Word document. That's kind of one of the last things I put on there. If you need to specifically change your supporting detail, your detail plans, then we would need to do a new request for FY23. Because a continuation is going to be exactly what you requested in the previous ones. So kind of I put on here, if you had 5 different requests, part of that could have been reallocations from the original request. Any of those, as long as nothing has changed from that very last entry, last request submitted, we can continue that into FY23. You would fill it out like you currently have, and I've tried to get some people to help me do the draft. So it should have, all the headings should be there, your fund center should be there. The only thing that might change is within the detail of operating expenses, salaries, grants, those items. And what I put on there on the Word document concerning FY23, kind of back to if you did a $1,000 request and you spent $100 of it, the max you can put on that request is $900. So the draft items that I'm going to be sending out would be showing the $900 because that's the max we show you have available to still spend. So that would be the max you can continue into FY23. Now, if you plan on spending in June or the remaining part of this month, that is completely understandable. And what we would do is still do the request for 900, but when accounting reviews these documents to enter them into FY23 ACEs, they will only load what appropriation is left. The best way I can describe this is reappropriations. If you got capital outlay or capital improvements money and you haven't spent it all, you can request that to carry into the next year, and it would only load for the amount that was left in the appropriation. Nick is very familiar with that, so that concept also. The other thing to consider when you're looking at the Excel document and this form and ACES is accounting, DFNA accounting has combined quite a few items into one line item. So an example I put in the Word document is if you had you requested lost revenues appropriation, accounting has combined lost revenues with commitment item 04, which is your grants and aids. The assumption is that it's lost tuition. So therefore they coded it as grants and aid. So if you specifically made a line item on your request form that said lost revenues, you can still have that on there. Just know that it will be combined with commitment item 04, any of the scholarship, the reimbursements to the students are also on that commitment item 4. So a lot of those have been combined. I can assist as much as possible to try to distinguish which ones have been combined on which lines. The other thing to consider is when you're looking at, okay, I have X dollars left in operating expenses, which projects are those for? I have noticed not errors, but issues between the ACES system and y'all's records on what got picked up in certain lines. And we can go over those if you have concerns or issues when you see. I'm also sending the most recent available budget report out of ACES with my emails that I've either sent out last night or this morning. That will show here's what your available budget is in ACES. There is a way to kind of drill down to see what those expenses were recorded into that appropriation. And I can assist, or Nick can assist with that aspect if you have questions on that side of it. Just saw a chat question. So I was made aware that some people have I guess there is some additional funding options coming from the feds for additional ARPA appropriation or funding. Until you actually have the award in hand, we'll have to wait for the appropriation request because we'll need to have that document with the request. The Excel document is just similar to your previous document that you filled out for your ARPA request. The biggest change on the request form is you have the continuation box. And again, that is only if you're exactly continuing what you want from this year into FY23. If you want, you can submit a continuation with no changes, and then later on in FY23, August, September, even July, if you want to come back and say, hey, we need to change up our supporting documents, your detailed plan, or you need to do a reallocation, you no longer need it in lost revenues, you want it back up in operating, or you don't need it in operating, but want it in salaries match, that you will submit a reallocation on the FY23 form. Also provide the supporting detail that backs that up. And please remember when y'all do submit the form, yes, I do realize it says Cabinet Secretary and Agency Director. We still need a signature on that line from the institutions. It's hard to fit all the different titles into a box. So we ask if we can get a signature into that line. Again, remember, I know there was a few grant awards that that didn't specifically state ARPA funding. So please make sure when you're submitting, if you look and make sure it does state ARPA funding. So if for some reason, the additional money that's being possibly sent out, that institutions can request, if it does not say ARPA funding, it can be used as the regular process. Let's see. So for loss.
Hey, Michael,
Yes.
Roger Moore. Just a quick question. I know that in the Word document you had addressed the combining of certain line items into one commitment item. Like on example, the form that you sent to me and the ACES snapshot. In ACES report, it's showing a little more than $1 million more in commitment item 04, direct aids and grants, than we even had in student funds. So I'm assuming that's a result of combining some other items into that 04 commitment item. Is that correct?
That is correct. I did also see yesterday, one of them had indirect cost. So if sometimes I think accounting has coded indirect cost also to the grants and aid line.
Okay.
But that's where, if you do have questions, we can get together and kind of drill into the system and see exactly how accounting coded it. That way I can help, guide y'all on, okay, here's where they put it. For when y'all do the request, also you kind of know what GL code to code it to for that item.
That was kind of my question, because when we do the request for draw, then knowing what GL item to reflect on that request, because if it's been combined.
Correct, and unfortunately, I'm not the one that did all the coding when it got approved. That was all accounting, and I've been trying to weed through it also. Because a lot of other ones also finally started getting some miscellaneous commitment items, which then we had to create sub-fund centers and a lot of moving around new cost centers. So yes, if you have issues or questions on that, please email me or call me and we'll kind of go through those. Any other questions? I've kind of went over a little bit. If you got questions, it'll be a little easier to ask now, or if you don't have them now, send me an email. And if it's something that everybody can utilize, I'll kind of use Nick as my source to get it out to everybody. I know everyone has different situations. I wish every one of y'all were identical across the board, but that's not the case.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you just one of the examples that I did get sent. This is for Newport, what Michael had sent me. So looking at the email, he sent this snapshot of ACES currently and showing what's left available, showing there's 328,938 in grants and aid and 640,000 in commitment item 46. That's what they have left. So coming back to the form, that's the amount he has listed on the form for 23, 328,939 in grants and aid and 640 in commitment item 46. That would be the request to continue that appropriation. So that's how those would look. Now, if you need to make changes from that, it would no longer be a continuation. It would be a change or a new request. You'd submit your updated plan for how your funding is going to be spent for those remaining amounts. It'd be the same form, it just would not be a continuation anymore. don't know if that helps seeing that or not. But also, if you submitted, multiple requests, like you said, you don't have to do one for each request with the remaining amount. You can combine everything onto this one form to request to continue what's left of those 2 or 3 requests at one time.
I might have said it earlier. If I didn't, I apologize. The items Nick are showing you, I tried to start sending these out last night to everybody. And I didn't get all these submitted because when I started looking at the items that I had people help me put together, they were kind of missing a few things. So I am still getting all these sent out this morning. Everybody should hopefully get it before noon. The Word document will be on there. The Excel, your draft Excel will be on there. If you utilized all your appropriation this year in FY22, I am still sending you a blank copy of the FY23 request, just in case you might need to request something for 23. And then in that email, we'll also have your available budget, as Nick showed you the example of that one. But I've not got them out to everybody, and I apologize for that. I had a few other things pop up yesterday that I was trying to complete before this morning. And I got about maybe half of y'all emails sent out. So if you don't see something from me this morning by noon, you might just shoot me an email and say, did I overlook them? But I should hopefully have everybody sent to this morning.
I do have a question I just thought about, Michael, for you guys in your office. With the ones that are just continuations, do you need the plan submitted with it again, or just the form?
It's been a little bit of a mix on that. If they can possibly give what might be the remaining details, what's left that was already submitted. So if they said they were going to buy a laptop and they didn't yet, that might help me be able to see which request it was from. Because I'll have to submit every approved form that was already sent back with this document. So if they can help guide me in, okay, of this remaining balance, what projects those are.
Okay. Anyone have questions currently, or once you start doing it, I'm sure you'll have more.
And again, I'm here. If you have questions, please reach out. The one thing I am gonna unfortunately have to throw out there, they're wanting to try to have the continuations submitted by Friday to us. I am a little late getting that out there, so if it's Monday or Tuesday, I will be okay with it. I'll take the heat from my office. But if you are doing a brand new request for FY23 instead of continuation, those will be due next Friday to our office. I'll probably send out, Nick might have already gotten it. A few other people have, the peer deadlines for FY23. I'll be sending those out to everybody so y'all are aware when things are due to our office. And unfortunately, that's to give us plenty of time to review and make any changes or corrections. before the 3 people in my office have to review it before it does go across the street.
So Michael, to be clear, what you just said, the next question, previously, if all we're doing is a continuation, which the form, I guess, that Nick had up just well, I guess he still got it up, for Newport, for example. In addition to submitting the form and having the signature there, you also want to resubmit the plan or a new plan for the remaining, or what exactly are you asking for there?
If y'all can guide me in saying, here's what's left of the plan that we already submitted. Because if you only submitted two plans, I can pretty much determine that. But if you've had like 4 or 5 different requests this year, and it's hard for me to determine exactly which task has been completed. Because if you've already completed refunding students, that type, and all that's been expensed, I don't want to add that form that you previously requested into this document. Does that make it muddy?
I wonder if we couldn't just use that purpose of the grant box. That's where you got a lot of room to enter text, just to kind of enter what your remaining amounts are for. That way you don't have to submit a separate document.
That would be wonderful. Yes.
Yep. Or reference which of your prior requests is remaining. But yeah, what's left of it. But I would also, just as we are submitting these, if you've been having a hard time completing that current plan, this might be a great opportunity to look at revising and sending it as a new request rather than a continuation. Almost the same effort to do both of them. So I'm just saying, if you're having a hard time being able to spend it under your current plan, this might be a great opportunity to look at that.
I will agree with Nick that was one of the things that I tossed up in my mind was, is it better just to submit a brand new plan along with an FY23 request? That way everything matched exactly how y'all want to spend it for FY23. But if y'all don't have the time for that right this moment and still not 100% sure what changes might take place, then the continuation would be perfect for that request. And then once y'all know later on, we can do a reallocation or submit a new detailed plan for approval. Any other questions? Anything else besides ARPA? If you had a question for me. Okay.
Anybody else
Can I
have
just
anything?
clarify something real quick? So we have just a small amount of fiscal year 22 plan for our student distribution that we did not distribute. So you need that by Friday as a continuation. We don't add it to our 23 plan.
So
If you're submitting a new plan for 23 anyway, I
Yep.
would just list that on the new plan
Okay,
and not
Thanks.
submit 2 requests.
thank you.
I definitely agree with Nick on that. If you have a remaining balance and your supporting documents said it was for students for the fall of last year, and that's all that's been taken care of, and you weren't able to grant them all out, so you want to do it for the fall of 23, that's going to need to be a new request. So they are looking at the detailed plans And I believe Leg Audit, when they come out to look at it, are gonna look to see if you spent it on where the request was approved. Because I know that was brought up several times by the legislators on who's reviewing where these dollars are being spent. And are they following the detailed plan? So thank you for that question.
Thank you for the answer.
Richard, if it's continuation only, they're asking it for the deadline to be this Friday. They're asking for new items for a new plan. That deadline is next Friday.
Thanks, Nick.
Yep. I saw that in the chat there for you.
And I don't think I put that in the email that I sent out last night. I forgot that. And again, if you have questions that pop into mind after you see my email, please feel free to either call or reply to that email asking questions, and I'll get back to them as soon as possible. Okay. So good question. So if you still have appropriation or need to request any appropriation for FY22, that request would go into June pier because we've already missed the deadline for May pier. So if you have something, it will be the FY22 deadline would be the May 13th for the June pier. So the only pier remaining is going to be June pier. And I would highly recommend, if you're going to do an FY22 request for June pier, you automatically send a continuation form of that exact same request for 23. That way, if you don't get it into the system, it is already there, loaded, ready to go for FY23. Does that help, Frank? Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Hey, Michael, this is Jeremy Bruner at UCA. Just a question on what do we do for our remaining, when we're trying to do a continuing request, you know, we're still spending some of our aid funds into the summer. Do we use an estimate for what we're going to have left by June 30th? How do we need to handle that piece of it? Because we really aren't going to know exactly what our carryover is until June 30th, really.
Yeah, so what my recommendation would be is where it sits as of today. So if it's still showing $900, put that amount.
Okay.
Because we do have a document that says, hey, at this time it was $900. But what my speculation, I haven't concurred with accounting just yet, but if you spent another $200 of that $900 before the end of the year, accounting will only give $700 in appropriation.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's kind of why I referenced capital projects and reappropriations. Those type of funds, that's how we handle those, is because we have to guesstimate so far in advance to get it onto the documents, that if we still spend the remaining couple months, all we will load is what's left for FY23. So we just can't have a dollar amount. So if your request was $1,000, you can't ask for $1,200. So, but if it's anything underneath that $1,000, we can go with that and hope that we have I'd rather have more appropriation requested than what you actually end up with.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else with a question? Yeah, the goal with all this is to make sure we can get as much done in one request, so you only have to go before a committee once rather than multiple times, so.
And I will throw this out there. If you haven't been to one of our lovely June piers, it's gonna be crowded and there's gonna be a lot of requests. So I'm hopeful these requests, there's not a whole lot of questions on. But again, you got any questions, concerns? Hopefully every one of y'all have my phone number from an email. If not, you'll have it today from an email. Please reach out. I am here typically until 5:30 most nights.
And I'll get this recording posted on our website, the same where we had the other ARPA instructions. I'll send that link out once we get it posted. So you can share with anyone that wasn't able to be here today.
And thank y'all again for getting on here with the short notice. Just trying to find the best way to help communicate across the board with everybody. But again, thank you.
I appreciate you all. If you need anything, contact me or Michael. We'll be here to help you. Everybody have a good day.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good day.